Well, welcome to Boston, where the Edmonton Oilers continue their road trip, and they're hoping to rebound after starting the trip with a loss against the Detroit Red Wings, and they'll be in tough, taking on one of the better home teams in the National Hockey League. Joined by Craig McTavish as the Edmonton Oilers look to get a victory tonight. They do so by splitting up Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. What do you make of that change?
I think it's a good switch from the Detroit game. They started together against Detroit, and it didn't go well to start, and then you can't put them back together. Yeah. So I really think it's more advantageous. It's a tougher duo to check if you split them, and if it doesn't go well and you need offense later in the third period, you can put them back together, and then that kind of energizes the two of them because they know at that point they have to get it done. It's on them.
Now, Boston has one of the best number one lines in the NHL, so splitting up Leon and Connor, is that maybe even more appropriate tonight?
The word out of Boston is that Bergeron's line is going to be hard matched against Connor McDavid, which is going to be a fantastic lesson for Connor McDavid's line with Hyman and Puljujarvi. That'll be a good matchup. That's been one of the best lines in the NHL for the last decade. So they're going to have their hands full, and they're going to have to not be as aggressive as they normally are, because if they leave something on the table against this line, they're going to dig it out of their own net.
What's Dave Tippett saying to his team as they prepare to go on the ice, rebounding from Detroit and also knowing that they've had 3-goal deficits in back-to-back games?
I don't think he wants to focus solely on the start, because a lot of times that is counterintuitive. He'll focus on two things. Effort, the effort has to be there. That's a decision that they make. And execution. Without those two things, you're not going to have a good start. But with those two things, we'll expect good things from the Oilers.
And there should be a lot of good things happening tonight when you look at the offensive talent on both of these teams. And certainly, they are players not past their prime when it comes to the Boston Bruins and that number one line that Craig spoke of. And, of course, you know who they're going up against. Lots of talent on the way. Don't go anywhere. Leon, Connor, and much more to come right after the break.
Ladies and gentlemen, last year, the Boston Bruins, Edmonton Oilers, and entire hockey community suffered a heartbreaking loss as forward Colby Cave tragically lost his life after undergoing emergency brain surgery at the age of just 25. As a young player in the National Hockey League, Colby exhibited leadership qualities beyond his years and will be remembered not just as a hard-working, passionate player on the ice, but a great teammate and friend off of it. Though he made his NHL debut in a Boston sweater, he will forever be known as both an Oiler and a Bruin.
Colby Cave gets his first National Hockey League goal.
You know, it's a good group of guys in here, so they're always looking after you. So it's something special, and go in the trophy case for sure.
Colby Cave saw that 4-2 Bruins.
Pretty cool, Kevin. Yeah, sick view.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, in her late husband's memory, please welcome Emily Cave to the ice for tonight's ceremonial puck drop. Fans, let's hear it one more time for Emily Cave.
tell a lot, don't they, Louis DeBrusque? As Emily Cave embracing several members of the Boston Bruins and Edmonton Oilers. Brad Marchand clearly a little choked up in his own right, and you and I get a little misty thinking about Colby, a big goal he scored in Pittsburgh, how fired up Darnell Nurse was for him, and you had a chance to see his growth and development.
Yeah, I had a chance to watch Colby play throughout, coming up through junior in Swift Current and Providence in the American Hockey League with my son Jake, and in Boston, and both of these organizations obviously showing a lot of love and support for Emily for the ceremony tonight. But first time these two teams have played each other, so to get together, very nice gesture by Boston to do this tonight.
Tim Hortons starting goaltenders as we get a look at tonight's game. The Edmonton Oilers with a record of 9-2, the Boston Bruins 6-4. The official coffee of the National Hockey League, and it's Mikko Koskinen matched up against Linus Ullmark. Koskinen has won 7 straight on the road, playing to a save percentage of .933 dating back to last year. This is first start against the Bruins. Leon Draisaitl and Thomas Nosek, and we are underway from TD Garden in Boston. Draisaitl flanked by Yamamoto and Nugent Hopkins, Keith and Ceci defensively, and a stumbling Koskinen able to slow the puck's momentum as it's dropped into the zone by Boston. Immediately in on the forecheck, Anton Bleed with possession as it's line 4 for Boston to start against the Draisaitl line. Again, featuring the league's co-leading scorer alongside Connor McDavid. Your starting lineup brought to you by Scotiabank. Scotiabank, believing there's a place for all Canadians in Canada's game. But right now it's the Bruins pinning Edmonton in deep, looking for a 4th win in 5 games. Meanwhile, the Oilers look to avoid back-to-back defeats for the first time this season. And here's a steal by Marchand, gliding to the high slot and dropping it off for a quick shot taken from Forbert, and that whistled wide, clattered off the boards and all the way back to center, handled by McAvoy. A hard hit by Draisaitl, freed it back up, and it's going to be a penalty.
And the exact start the Boston Bruins wanted to have in this game. Hemming the Edmonton Oilers in the offensive zone. A chip in there, aggressive forecheck, and this is something Edmonton can expect throughout this game. This is the MO of the Boston Bruins. And Koskinen with a little bit of a stumble there. Doesn't quite play that puck effectively, and it results in an extended period of time in the defensive zone for Edmonton. Here's the big hit, Marchand on Keith. And then the penalty is Draisaitl and Marchand come together. He goes down, and the first power play goes to Boston.
Draisaitl takes a seat in the sin bin. The Oilers a perfect 10 for 10 on the kill this year. And the referee, with one of, I think, the best handles in the game, Bo Halkaitis, wastes no time in making the call. Nugent Hopkins on the PK, paired with Derek Ryan, and then it's Nurse and Bouchard. Bruins much better on special teams at home. Here's a one-timer and a broken stick, as Pastrnak looking to tee one up. He's stuck on 3 goals thus far on the season, and the Oilers able to rattle it back to center, where Pastrnak endowed with new lumber. He'll send it in deep, and Koskinen to knock it down for Bouchard. A hard rim, and Bergeron briefly holds the zone, but ultimately forced out by the on-rushing Nugent Hopkins. Edmonton-Boston 1-2 in the league in power play goals the last 3 years. Hall setting up Bergeron, loading, center, and that was tipped. Back in front of the Oiler bench, grabbed by Hall, who of course spent his first 6 years in an Oiler uniform. Bergeron, quick shot, Pastrnak, and a save. Koskinen protecting the lower half.
That was a good quick save by Koskinen on the sneaky little attack there by Pastrnak, who gets that away in a hurry, and early on here, pressured by Boston. Important to kill this off for Edmonton.
Marchand fell down, and it cleared by Kyler Yamamoto. Koskinen, remember, comes in 7-1 on the year. Tied for 2nd in the league among goaltenders in wins. Craig Smith brings it across the line for the Bruins, and now Pastrnak falls down. Bruins a bit off balance here in the early going. 35 in the power play, and it's a length of the ice clear for Edmonton, but we've seen some uncharacteristic stumbles among Boston's top players.
And some good penalty killing, just good positional penalty killing by Edmonton to be in the right spot, force that pass a little more aggressively than Boston wants to make it, and as a result, they've been able to kill this off effectively and put that puck down the ice. There it is again.
A one bouncer by Ceci in on net, and Ullmark will have to pick that one up and stick it in his hip pocket. He was 2-1 against the Oilers as a member of Buffalo.
Oh, you know, Edmonton has the best power play in the National Hockey League for good reason, but this Boston power play, you saw the shattered stick by Pasternak. That's the shot they're looking for, and then Pasternak with a new twig goes out and tries to catch Koskinen sleeping on that quick shot from a sharp angle. He fights that one off. 2 early saves, and very good in the penalty kill as of lately. As you can see, this is a team that's really buckled down, especially on the road, to kill these off.
McDavid digs in against Charlie Coyle. The puck slides wide of Ullmark. Tracked down by Craig Smith as Boston's power play now sitting at 10 seconds. So McDavid and Puljujärvi will mop up, and that means Draisaitl will join him back 5-on-5 as Smith with a slap shot that's blocked aside by Koskinen, and here's McDavid in full flight. Puljujärvi heading for the net. Centered pass, one-timer, and Puljujärvi could not make clean contact. Draisaitl on the ice, picks it up. One-timer, McDavid denied by Ullmark.
Oh, a couple great saves by Ullmark, and this is what Dave Tippett does on a regular basis. We talked about this all year long. Last year, after a penalty kill, he loads up. Draisaitl, McDavid, and Puljujärvi. That's just a stumble and a miss shot by Puljujärvi, as that one was right through into the wheelhouse for him. He just doesn't connect on that one. And a good job by McDavid just to flare out, get himself into that one-timer position, and rip that puck. And another good save by Ullmark early on. Both goaltenders have faced a couple good key shots and have come up with big saves.
McDavid digs in with Edmonton back 5-on-5. Yes, Puljujärvi, 4 goals in the last 3 games. And Louis, that can be traced back to when Draisaitl unselfishly set him up for an empty netter when he could have had a hat trick on his own. Instead, he kind of got Puljujärvi off the schneid.
He's been rolling.
Here's Zach Hyman dropping it off for Slater Cuckoo. Got an assist in the game the other night against Detroit when a puck went off his skate. And Puljujärvi finished. Now McDavid heading for the net, cut off at the last moment by Charlie McAvoy. So back at even strength, Edmonton trying to set up in the offensive zone. Tyson Barrie whips it around the boards. McDavid, beautiful button hook, cuts behind, looking, dealing, and a pass was tipped, and Barrie rather conservatively backs off, and with Bleed bearing down on him, just thrusts it back into the corner, gets McDavid in trouble. Bleed tried to slip inside, and McDavid was able to reel that back in. All in on the forecheck, he can move. Riddled with injuries the last 3 years. Finally, Warren Foegele is able to bring it up, but he is erased. A hard shot by the bruising Connor Clifton. Foegele gets right back into the mix. I want to see the puck pitchfork down the middle. This could be icing, though they'll wave it off at the last moment. Ceci and Keith for Edmonton. Up the boards, Foegele. Stymied momentarily by Clifton, who jumped up, and now Keith will reverse. Foegele, high floater. Bounces wide of Ullmark, fielded by Grizzly. Up the boards, and Boston immediately carries out. Bruins coming off a win over Ottawa Tuesday, 3-2, while the Oilers lose to Detroit. Here's Pasternak taking the outlet. Big shot, score off the run. David Pasternak, his 4th of the year. And it's 1-0 Bruins.
Well, there's no question the Boston Bruins coming into this game have heard about how well the Edmonton Oilers have been doing this year. This is a building they haven't lost in. You heard Craig McTavish talk about it. This is a team that likes to come out, get off to a good start at home, and just a misplayed puck at the offensive blue line goes off of a skate, and this is how quickly the Boston Bruins can transition on you. And for David Pasternak, he doesn't try and force this pass across. Heads up, he's already taken 2 attempted shots on net. This one he beats Koskinen on the short side. And right there you can see just gets his shot going. Actually kind of mishandled that one. I think that was a flub that goes 5-hole on Koskinen. He was reaching short side, beats him 5-hole, but that transitional play leads to a 1-0 lead for the Boston Bruins.
I'd agree with you, Lou. I think Koskinen was anticipating where that shot was going, and he might have been right, but Pasternak didn't get all of it.
Now, if he meant to do that, that was pretty sneaky. I doubt that he meant to do that. He kind of tried to handcuff him on the first one, but that one, I think he gets a little bit of a break on.
Nurse wraps it around the boards. Goal scorers break. He led the league a couple years ago with 48. David Pasternak won the Rocket Richard. Here's Bouchard. Bergeron the assist. And Yamamoto will pop it back behind the net as the Oilers look for the quick response. Nurse. Bouchard. Shot. Went off the skate. Right to Draisaitl. Shoveled it in front. Nugent Hopkins got it back to Draisaitl. Wrist shot. Score! Bouchard!
What a response by Edmonton, and what a shot by Evan Bouchard. And he made a nice play in the neutral zone to start this whole sequence off. Boston thought there should have been a penalty on the play. First shot goes through traffic. This one pinballs around, but Leon Draisaitl, just a nice little pass, give and go with Nugent Hopkins. And look at Bouchard. You can see Hall was on the bench getting a new stick. As he comes in late, it allows Bouchard to walk right in and off the bar and down past Ullmark to tie this game 1-1. What a shot.
His second of the year from Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins at 5:29. So Lou, talk about a quick response. 44 seconds, and the Oilers are able to get the game even. And it's so crucial because Boston, as you know, is lights out when they get that lead after the first period. Duncan Keith with control of the puck. Ceci pumped eventually down the right-hand side. Taking a look is Ullmark. Chipped up on the window. And now Ceci snatches. Dishes off, snapped across for Duncan Keith. Wired it back. Looking for the man to deliver the pass initially. Ryan McLeod wasn't there. Cleared by Taylor Hall, the Bruins. He overstrode, and Brendan Perlini takes over. Playing with Sevier and McLeod tonight. Big game for Ryan McLeod as he looks to get a foothold in this lineup. Shore hurt, and now Cassian kind of day-to-day after missing most of the Detroit game. Flipped in, and Ullmark plays it up the right-hand side. Curtis Lazar won a Memorial Cup in Edmonton 7 years back. Nurse comes over to cut the play off. Spoon it up the wall safely for Zach Hyman. McDavid to Puljujärvi, plays onside. Hit applied by Forbert, and then turned back over to McDavid. As Boston was looking to exit there. McAvoy's second effort, and Anton Bleed smartly works it up the boards in front of the two-player benches.
Takes a pretty good thump from Puljujärvi there as he's coming back on the back check.
Kyle Turris back in the lineup after being scratched against Detroit. Gave it away to Jake DeBrusk. And picked up by Nosek and cleared up the left-hand side and shoveled down deep by Lazar. Cuckoo to Barry. Absorbs a hit. Plays it up the right-hand side. Fogle stood up. Clifton had the puck, then reversed off to Mike Riley. He's bounced around a little bit. Began his career in Minnesota. DeBrusk ushered on. Looking for Smith. That was bottled up. Carried by Riley to center. Did not get the red line. Ducked out of that hit, and it's going to cost him an icing.
This period brought to you by James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta's precedent-setting injury lawyers. Get the settlement you deserve. JamesHBrown.com.
You know, Jack, a lot of talk for Edmonton in their starts as of late haven't been that great, and this one kind of the same. Down 1-0, but it's Evan Bouchard with a quick response afterwards, and because of the start of Boston, I think it's kind of engaged Edmonton early in this game. Their last couple of shifts have been better, getting pucks in behind, establishing some time in the offensive zone. That shot didn't miss by much.
Nugent Hopkins looking for that first goal, Louis, and then a shot from the point disappears into the leather of goaltender Linus Ullmark. So David Pastrnak scoring for Boston, but just 44 seconds later, Bouchard, the equalizer.
Edmonton, when they do score first 6-0-0, 3-2-0 and trailing first in a game, and then it just goes down from there. They're a front-running team that likes to get things going early on. Tonight it was Boston with the first goal, and another team that likes to front-run. Pastrnak goes down, doesn't try and force the pass, beats Koskinen to make it 1-0, but 44 seconds later, it's Evan Bouchard on a beautiful pass from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and he buries that one. Sorry, Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins to Draisaitl, to Evan Bouchard pinching down, and he doesn't make any mistakes from that area. He picks the bar down and ties the game.
Two teams that love the front run. Since 20, Edmonton's got the best record when they score first, and Boston's got the best record when they lead after one. So you can tell a lot watching these two teams after the first 20 minutes or so.
And you kind of get the feel there's that healthy respect from each side, you know, coming into this game saying, listen, we know each team can kind of do some damage if they get on a run. It's been tight checking since those two goals early on.
Offside Yamamoto.
Hot and fresh pizzas, wings, and all the game day cravings delivered right to your door by Pizza 73. Score a great deal at pizza73.com.
TD Garden's a place that Boston loves to play in, Jack, and you look at their record on the road and then at home, it's a much different team when they're playing in front of their home fans, and that's just the way it's summed up this year. And that trend continues with the first goal early on by David Pastrnak, who just took a stumble into the zone.
Well, this town, first and foremost, you know, a Boston Bruins town. Red Sox Nation is the last 20 years. It doesn't go back 80 years the way the Bruins do. And the Patriots used to be a complete afterthought. Here's McDavid. That was pre-TB12, of course. Pastrnak brings it down the right-hand side. Taken away by Darnell Nurse. But, Louis, you and I are old enough to remember, I mean, even when the Celtics were winning those championships in the 50s and 60s, this is a Bruins town. This was Bobby Orr's town.
They've loved their Bruins. And they always have. And you know, it's a deep-seated love-hate relationship, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
Passionate fan base, not afraid to give you the tough love as well. But they show up and they love hockey.
To illustrate your comment about them showing up, this is sellout number 498 in a row, going back to December of 09. Clifton up the right-hand side. 1-1 tie. Edmonton, Boston. We're about halfway through the first period. Jack Michaels, Louis DeBrusk. Grabbed by Nick Foligno, back in the lineup. Just his third game played this year. Out with an upper body. Here's Taylor Hall. Using a screen to protect the puck on his backhand side. Riley off balance. Feathers one into the corner that's plucked off the dashers by Foligno. Clifton down low. Coyle can't get there. Cuckoo will. Worked against the boards. Cuckoo took a heavy shot. Cleared by Sevier. And Perlini, the smart play from center to get it behind the Boston defense. Picked up by Clifton, who really became a fixture during the 2019 playoff run. That ended with Boston falling one game shy of the Stanley Cup. Lost in this building, Game 7 to St. Louis. Sorry, Luke.
Sorry, just burped.
Up the right-hand side. Redirected, quick shot, didn't get there, and then fired by Fogle, and somehow that stayed out. Allmark was sprawling around and got a piece as Smith dumps it across the Oiler line. Keith ahead for Fogle. Ceci. Little give, spooned on net by Ryan and swallowed up by Allmark. 1-1 tie. Edmonton in Beantown. Looking to get back on the winning side of the ledger. Ryan and Fogle right around it, but can't finish.
You know, his jersey and a plaque hanging right in the dressing room, right where the players walk by every day. He's in your minds all the time. You know, there's Emily is still in Edmonton, and I know the players and the whole organization. Well-liked guy, smiling all the time. I mean, he's one of those guys. Is just a good teammate, good friend.
Yeah, everyone definitely misses the smile, and we will talk to Colby's wife, Emily, coming up in the first intermission.
Thank you, Gene. Haula wins the faceoff from Derek Ryan, and we return to the live action here. Coming up on 9 to play, opening frame, tied at 1. Boston struck first, and Edmonton countered 44 seconds later. And now, potential delay of game against the Bruins. Oilers certainly calling for it.
Eric Howell looks like he's a little banged up on that last play, but I do believe that puck went right up over top of the glass from Clifton.
Boston penalty, number 75, yep. 2 minutes for delay of game.
It is a delay of game. That's an aggressive forecheck right there. Makes Clifton make that play a little bit quicker than he wants to. That aggressive pressure. Watch this. Gets this puck, takes a little second there, takes the first hit by Fogle. And then when he gets the puck back, he just kind of flips it up off the glass, but it doesn't hit the glass, goes right into the stands. So the first power play for Edmonton in the game.
Well, I think your point is, you know, you take that first check and then you start feeling pressure where there is
none. You hear
none.
the footsteps coming a little
Exactly. Oilers on the power play. Hyman gets it back from Draisaitl and then stripped from behind. Well played by Patrice Bergeron, the 4-time Selke winner, who's been nominated for that trophy 10 straight years. Gets it back from Marchand and a swing and a miss. He'll lay it with one hand back. Marchand in close quarters tried to drag it net front. Failed in that endeavor. Draisaitl ahead for Tyson Barrie. He'll snap it around the boards. Nugent Hopkins, McDavid pour in. Allmark a misplay. Draisaitl centers. And that went out of everyone's reach except for this man, McDavid. Backdoor for Draisaitl, circling. Ullmark still scrambling, trying to reestablish position. Barry to McDavid. One-timer Draisaitl, and that was smoked line, high glove. Oilers failed to score for the first time this year on the power play against Detroit. Snapped a club record 10-game streak. Dope in the ear. Draisaitl looking for McDavid. That was blocked. Great keep by Nugent-Hopkins. He broke his stick, though. It was a good keep, but he broke the lumber, and that allows Marchand to be stripped by Draisaitl. What a backtrack. And Edmonton with numbers coming the other way. Played equally well by Charlie McAvoy to strip Draisaitl, send it around the left-hand side. Boy, you saw great defensive plays on both ends there.
Really good defensive plays. And Nugent-Hopkins, after the stick breaks, he just couldn't kick that puck far enough. Goes back, gets a new twig off the bench, and actually got back and involved on Marchand to not allow him to really do much in the offensive zone.
Draisaitl, a great play to strip it, and then McAvoy just absolutely picked his pocket. That could have been a 4-on-2. Evan Bouchard now on. Power play, second unit. Yamamoto, Turris. Bouchard trying to keep it in. Fogle is on now and goes rink wide for Kyle Turris. He's dropped in his tracks. Bruins were 6 for 6 on the penalty kill in their win over Ottawa. And they do the job here, but take an icing call late. And Nurse and Hall, no strangers. And Hall didn't like that extra shot. Nurse is like, are you kidding me?
What are you talking about? It's a race. Oh yeah, Hall was putting the Jets on there. There's the great chance by Draisaitl on the power play. That's the chance they were looking for right there. And then Nugent-Hopkins has a stick break on him, and he can't do anything with his puck. Tries to kick it to himself. Knows that he can't pick it up with the stick, but gets another one. And then a great backtrack by Draisaitl. Nugent-Hopkins right in the mix. And then Charlie McAvoy at the other end, as you mentioned, a couple erases along that right side wall for him. Denies the power play, and some good penalty killing by the Bruins on that one.
Face-off, win for Ryan McLeod. Belted down low by Keith, and it hops up and out of play as we get a message from Sports Interaction.
Providing competitive odds on all sports, Sports Interaction is Canada's odds maker.
Ryan McLeod, I said it earlier, feels like he needs to have a bounce-back game a little bit, solidify his spot in the lineup.
You know, it's an opportunity for him, no question about that. And this is one of those games you ratchet things up. You're going up against the Boston Bruins, who've been a real solid team for years on home ice. And for a youngster like Ryan McLeod, he could really use this game to just inject a little intensity, I guess, into his game. And that's the one thing for me. He does a lot of great things. He's fast. He has good skills. Playing a fourth-line role, though, you have to play a little bit more of a gritty game, be hard on pucks, and it's coming for him, though.
Cody Ceci with a cough up. Grzelcyk a clear to center, and Foligno will dump it in. Nick Foligno, longtime captain of the Columbus Blue Jackets, finishes his check on Duncan Keith. Trying to jam it out of Charlie Coyle's grasp. Keith staying with it and eventually busts up the cycle, allowing him to shovel it up the right-hand glass. McAvoy streaks over. Wheels behind the net, eludes Sevier. Then Fogle carries it all the way to the Edmonton blue line and down deep with a backhander short side. Koskinen had to make sure to keep that out. McAvoy's turning into some kind of player. Here's Derek Ryan. The Turris off the rush, and he flubbed one. Got it back, though. Ryan peers inside. They missed Fogle busting down the seam, and Marchand the other way. Missed opportunity for Edmonton. Marchand hits Pasternak for a shot that just missed. Tried to go blocker side on Koskinen for what would have been his second goal of the game. He's got 8 and 10 career against Edmonton.
He's had a couple good looks there. He buried the one, as you mentioned, maybe got a little bit lucky on that one. The other two that he actually got away didn't miss by much. That one there, he was going far side.
Anton Bleed forces it in. 5 minutes to go in the first. Heavy forecheck applied by Lazar, but the Oilers break out. Nugent-Hopkins to Nurse, and his shot rocketed out of play by the Colorado Springs native Brandon Carlo. And we are tied at 1, live from Boston, as the Oilers in search of their 10th win of the year. Brown, accident injury lawyers, the heavy hitters in injury law.
Been a physical game to start things off, and Charlie Coyle and Darnell Nurse collide here. Two big men going at it. Coyle finishes, they both go down. a little bit of a pile. And for the Boston Bruins, had a real physical game last game versus the Ottawa Senators. Have been called out a little bit to be more physical like the old Bruins were. And they've come out and are out hitting Edmonton 15-8 in this one. And that's part of the game plan, trying to slow down a fast offensive Edmonton Oilers team looking to finish every check.
Well, you were pointing out they're not exactly the Bruins of years old with the skill in the top 9 forwards for that Boston group, Louis. The numbers are staggering.
Unbelievable. And, you know, you look at them, you've got 9 players that have all scored 20 or more goals in a season for the top 3 lines of the Bruins right now. 31st in 5-on-5 goals, though. That kind of doesn't really add up for them early in this year, but they're hoping they can kind of get that together and score a few more even strength goals. But 8 of those players have had 25 or more goals in a season, so they've got a ton of ability to score goals.
Nurse hits Draisaitl. Oilers pour in over the line. Boston started the year 3-3, has won 3 of its last 4. Oilers coming off just their 2nd defeat of the season against 9 wins. Draisaitl back to Bouchard, and his blast does not squeeze through. Draisaitl had 15 points in his previous 6 before being held off the sheet against Detroit. Well, he's got an assist tonight on Bouchard's equalizer. Grabs it at center. Off to Nugent Hopkins, poke checked off his stick. Got it back though at the red line. Shot in finally by Darnell Nurse, and some more jousting there. Game's got a bit of a bite to it early. Bergeron shoots it in. Pastrnak will shovel it down low. Duncan Keith hit by Bergeron, but spun off that contact, and it's cleared rather routinely. Forbert to Pastrnak, choked off by Puljujarvi right in front of the Bruins bench. McDavid went to the middle, but McAvoy anticipated, laid it ahead. Marchand lost his stick, poke checked away by Keith, picked up by Ceci, and played down the middle. McDavid just a bit too far for Hyman.
He had a full head of steam going through the neutrals on that puck, just bobbled him. He's going to pick that up at top pace.
Puljujarvi to McDavid. Looking for Hyman, under duress in the form of Mike Riley. Slid off and found McDavid. Pressured, stolen. Attempted clear. And finally slugged out. Smith in on the forecheck. Crowding Barry. Ryan McLeod, a quick peek up ice, just missed Brendan Perlini. Riley for Boston hits Coyle. McLeod draped all over him, slung around the boards. Connor Clifton. DeBrusk wrapped up and engaged, and now what do we have? Holding. Did DeBrusk draw a call there?
I'm not sure where it happened. It's Slater Cuckoo that's heading to the box here.
Edmonton penalty number 20. 2 minutes for holding.
It looked like possession was still in Boston's favor. Yeah, but Slater Cuckoo kind of gets wrapped up with DeBrusk and just kind of holds on maybe a little bit. I thought he kind of swam over top of him, but nonetheless, it's another power play for the Boston Bruins.
Hey, are you trying to say Jake sold that call?
He might have sold it a little bit.
Face off. Clearly won. I mean, how this is special for you still, is it not?
Oh, yeah, no, I got a little giddy smile on my face watching this.
Jake DeBrusk, seasons of 27, 19, and 16 goals to his credit. Off the draw, pulled free by Bergeron. Here's a one-timer Bergeron save made, and then Marchand trying to go backdoor and just missed Pastrnak. McAvoy jumps up on the play. Nurse and Bouchard, and a hard rim by Darnell Nurse will chase Boston back. Second power play of the night for the Bruins.
Well, the second shot for Boston in the last 10 minutes. Edmonton has really started to stabilize and be stingy in that regard, but it was a good one on the power play, and that little touch pass by Marchand was pretty quick looking for Pastrnak.
30-second differential, game clock, penalty clock, and a giveaway by Pastrnak. Here's Yamamoto and Ryan, and a big hit by Bergeron. That was close in terms of interference, but you're not going to get you're not going to get the 18-year pro. He's going to get the benefit of the doubt more often than not. Taylor Hall streaks in, weaving, dishing to Craig Smith, who's really been struggling. One touched on by McAvoy, who receives a pass down. Kind of a slide step to the front of the net and hacked wide by Pastrnak. And a clear for Zach Hyman that will force Boston all the way back. Marchand in full flight. Saucers it to Coyle. Tucked back to Smith. Punch too far for Foligno. Marchand dangles down low. Foligno kept it alive. Grizzly. Smith. Wrist shot. Glove save made Koskinen. Minute to go in the period. Marchand out to the point. Grizzly. Smith again. Side of the net. Scooted through the wickets of Marchand. Here's Coyle. Foligno got drilled in front. Smith pounds a slapper. And that was rocketed wide by Duncan Keith. And here comes the Edmonton Oilers 2-on-1. Ryan over Yamamoto. One-timer denied. Sprawling right pad save made by Allmark. Power play coming up on expiration. Walking in. What a strip by McDavid. And now McDavid forcing a man to blow a wheel. Carries in deep. Dishes. One-timer and flubbed wide by Nurse. Off the heel of his stick somehow. The Oilers don't counter. Draisaitl shakes off a check from Foligno. Hard drive to net. Short side stuff attempt and a save made by Allmark. Chip past McDavid and carried out by Lazard with less than 10 to go in the period. Hard hit up high on Bouchard. No penalty called, and Draisaitl will skate out the remaining time. Shot clock doesn't tell the story. 9-7 Edmonton. An exciting first period. A lot of chances at both ends, not really materializing.
And a couple great chances at the end of this period for Edmonton. There's the one-timer right there. Yamamoto, excellent read by Allmark to come across and take it away. And then McDavid gets a stumbling defender to go down, and beautiful pass across. And that last stick by Coyle takes that away from Darnell Nurse. What a defensive play to come back and break that up. Two best chances were on the penalty kill for the Edmonton Oilers.
Racehorse, we love it. Game is tied at 1. Carolyn and Anthony with Hockey Central on the other side. Gene Principe will talk with Emily Cave. Those two may be in lockstep, McDavid and McAvoy. We've seen them matched at times tonight. But, Louis, most importantly, from an Edmonton perspective, we saw an immediate response following that goal against.
Yeah, real good response by Edmonton. And listen, we've talked about their starts at length throughout the last few games, just not really coming out and really fired up. I think that goal against early and the way they responded in that goal by Evan Bouchard to tie it 1-1, they didn't allow but 2 shots from Boston in the final 13 minutes of that period. That's how you shut a team down. That's how you possess the puck. Very good response by Edmonton, and I think that's something they'd like to carry forward, obviously, into this second period.
And as you know, Louis, the power play has garnered well-deserved accolades, but the penalty kill has been terrific all year as well. Perfect 12 of 12 on the road as Yamamoto playing 5-on-5 with Ceci and Keith. It's Cody Ceci in the offensive zone right now for Edmonton. TD Garden used to be a house of horrors, but again, 4 wins in their last 5 trips for the Oilers coming in. They get fired up to play in the big cities like Boston and New York. McAvoy streaking to his right. Boston, meanwhile, dating back to last year, 13 wins in its last 14 games on this sheet of ice. Sent in deep. Keith off to Ceci, whacked around the boards. Not out. Forbert keeps the pressure on. Ceci able to reverse. Keith, quick peek on Bergeron. Of course, Duncan Keith would have matched up against Boston in the 2013 Stanley Cup final. That was won by the Hawks in 6 in this building. The 2 stunning goals in the last minute and a half. Sent in deep, and Koskinen will just freeze it for Edmonton. A minute 15 into period 2.
You know, those old feelings don't go away, and for Duncan Keith, you know, coming into this building too for the first time in a while, you know, brings back those memories. And you mentioned it for Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, the guys, the core of this team. Darnell Nurse coming in here again. They know they're playing a respectable team, a team that's been one of the best teams in the league for years, and it's kind of one of those measuring sticks for them as well.
Zach Hyman angles the puck ahead for Jesse Puljujärvi, and now McDavid change of pace. He's in and centered at the last moment. Knocked away from Darnell Nurse. I believe that was Grizzly with a defensive play. Smith the other way, a wrist shot that handcuffs Koskinen, but he got enough to send it wobbling wide. Grizzly to DeBrusk. Smith again, and he turned it over. And now Connor McDavid has Carlo beaten. Wrist shot save made this time. McDavid takes the shot, and Omar holds sway for the Bruins. Good hard low shot, very reminiscent of how he scored against Detroit.
It was a good shot. I like that shot by Connor McDavid. And again, a forced pass across the ice picked off by Grzelcyk that leads to a rush going the other way. And Smith has a pretty good chance down the right-hand side. Second time for McDavid, he takes the shot himself, and that's a good save by Omar.
Greg Smith, a 5-time 20-goal scorer, off to a really slow start this season. Taylor Hall in over the line, doesn't have a point. Centering pass, so that was broken up and cleared by Derek Ryan. Warren Foegele couldn't wheel it between the skates of Connor Clifton. Back off the boards, given away by Clifton. Ryan tried to thrust it down low to Foegele. Second effort does so. Riley stands him up. Quick shot, Ryan. That was slid wide. Barry picks up the rebound. Angled off by Clifton. Wrapped around for Cuckoo. Ryan, as the cycle continues, disrupted by Coyle. Clifton gathers. Ball clears. Coyle jumps up. Pressured by Foegele. Thrown across to Derek Fortner. Played last year in Winnipeg. Breaking out is Cuckoo, but his pass too hard. Nosek is able to hold it in. So many years, that reliable fourth-line presence for Vegas. Thomas Nosek signed a deal in the offseason with the Bruins. McAvoy punches it free. Cleared by Lazar and swept in eventually. Koskinen. Duncan Keith. Brendan Perlini up the boards. McLeod fell down. Did not handle it cleanly, but Nosek's pass just out of the reach of Lazar. Whistled too far for Colton Sevier, but icing negated. Clifton shaking off Sevier, twisting back towards center. Punched off the boards. Here's Lazar. Unable to get one through against Duncan Keith.
Good positioning by Keith on that play for Lazar, trying to walk in off that left-hand side as a right-handed shooter. Use Keith as a screen, and he gets a piece of that on the block and is able to clear it out.
Oilers 9-2 coming in. Final 30 games last year, only lost back-to-back games once. Bouchard in front with a backhander and a save. Allmark with no rebound.
Good opportunity there by Evan Bouchard. A good recognition by him to go right down into the zone as Boston was collapsed. Here's a couple rushes by Connor McDavid. The first one, the defensive stick by Grzelcyk takes that away. The second time he gets the wheels burning again. This time head up, tries to beat Allmark far side there as he gets that lap pad down and puts it away. And for Connor McDavid, has a point in all 11 games for the Edmonton Oilers this year. And you can see some of the company he's holding once again. Not slowing down at all, that's for sure.
No, and he's only 40 shy of the club record.
Got a ways to go on that one.
Wayne Gretzky, the first 51 games.
Like, you kidding me? I think, what was it, one game he went without a point that year?
A total of three.
That's
total of three, but your point is well taken. Just a remarkable year, yeah. Nurse will jam it back in for Edmonton. Bit of a lull right now in the pace as the teams look to ratchet it back up. Grzelcyk on the move. David Pastrnak used a good term, healthy respect. Pastrnak shakes free, tried to center, backhander, score. Brad Marchand and Boston regains the lead at 2-1. Marchand continues to light it up in the early going this season. That's now 9 points in his last 5.
And Dave Tippett looking down pretty aggressively at the clock here. I don't know if he's maybe looking to see if this was offside into the zone. I don't think it was, but a nice little spin-up move here by Pastrnak. He goes to try and take that pass across to Bergeron, goes off a skate right to Marchand. When you have double options like that, two players funneling to the net, you try and take everything away. Actually, it's the stick of Bouchard, which prevents pretty much a tap-in for Bergeron here. That's a tap-in for him backdoor, but it goes right to the wrong guy, and it's Marchand that buries it.
It's well crafted, Louis, because you make the right play and it still doesn't turn out for you. Keith up the middle, McDavid, Puljujarvi left wing for Zach Hyman. Rich shot off the post, and then the rebound off Puljujarvi's body trickling just wide. Eric Hall failed to clear. Oilers tied at 44 seconds after the first Boston goal. They tie it again. Hyman a drag move, and he finishes off the backhand side, and we are deadlocked at 2.
Well, that's the second time in this game where Boston scores a goal and Edmonton comes right back. And I mean, Hyman rang it off the bar. I think he put a dent in the bar with the first opportunity that he had, but go right back to work in the offensive zone. Win puck battles. This one, just stay with him. Look at Puljujärvi. He takes 2 guys down like a bowling ball, and that allows McDavid to step in there, pick up that puck, and then Zach Hyman just goes to work. He's always had that desire to drive a puck to the blue paint, goes to the backhand side, beats Allmark over top of the blocker. This is a skilled goal in tight and a lot of traffic. The forecheck from Puljujärvi just disrupts the play. McDavid picks it up and puts it to Hyman, and he ties the game shortly after. Boston goes up by 1.
20 seconds exactly, Louis. So 44 seconds the first time, 20 seconds the second time. Hyman off the post, and then Hyman with a backhander shoveled home for his 8th of the year. Speaking of number 8, Kyle Turris poke checked away. Fired in by Ryan. Turris picks it up for Warren Foegele. So Boston's 2 leads have lasted a total of 64 seconds. Turris dishing. Derek Ryan. And again, all the more magnified by the fact of how good a front runner Boston is. But the Oilers have not allowed the Bruins to play with a lead. Taylor Hall at center, and that's going to be offside. Foligno got dragged across.
Yeah, Ceci and Foligno get tangled up there as Taylor Hall was trying to go on a little bit of a rush and was over the line. Back-to-back action here again. Marchand makes it 2-1, and shortly thereafterwards, Zach Hyman scores to tie the game at 2. End. Well, some back-to-back affairs, especially when it comes to goals. Jack at 4:45. Pasternak makes it 1-0. 44 seconds later, it's Evan Bouchard who picks the corner to tie 1-1. In this second period, early on, Marchand with a goal to make it 2-1 for Boston, and then shortly thereafterwards, what a drive by Hyman to go to the backhand and bury it far side to tie it up 2-2.
Connor McDavid, by the way, credited with an assist on Hyman's goal, so that extends his streak going back to last season to 20 games, and of course this year the first 12. And Boston's 2 leads have lasted a total of 1 minute and 8 seconds tonight. And when you're playing against a front-running hockey club, that's what you need. Riley with a shot that's blockered aside by Mikko Koskinen, and the Oilers look to break out. Nurse off to Ryan McLeod. He'll chip and charge off the window. Clifton fires it up the boards. Foligno. Riley activates, barrels down the middle of the ice. Hall cuts in, wrist shot fought off by Koskinen. Bidding to go high glove. Koskinen got a piece. Taylor Hall tried to jam it out in front, and that was deflected. Front end of a back-to-back for Edmonton. The Oilers will be in Buffalo tomorrow. We'll have that one for you on Sportsnet. Stuart Skinner likely to get the nod in goal. Lazar. Shot by Grzelcyk, disappears into a crowd. Bouchard trying to bull his way out of the zone. And what a second effort as he hacked that puck down and forced it to the red.
It looked like he had lost it there, Nosek, with a real nice back check to kind of pick his pocket, but that's just staying in the battle right there by young Evan Bouchard. That gets turned over, potentially a 2-on-1 going the other way, but he stays in the battle and wins that puck.
Punched in by Nugent Hopkins. Teams have split 4 goals and 24 shots on goal evenly thus far. TD Garden. And then on to Buffalo tomorrow, St. Louis on Sunday, and wrapping up in Winnipeg next Tuesday. Second of a 5-game trip for the Oilers. Batted out of midair by Bleed and recovered by Tyson Barrie. Turned over at the red. Walking in, Bergeron centers, and that went off the stick with Brad Marchand. Yamamoto nearly had his pocket picked by Pasternak, but Cuckoo there with support, and it slid back to center. Hammered back in by Derek Forbort. Cuckoo after it. A collision. Marchand has drawn a penalty there coming off the wall, and Cuckoo's not going to like this one.
Through every challenge you face, we help you return and rebuild, because that's what it means to build confidence together.
Cuckoo's going to go to the box. 2 minutes for tripping here as he spins around. I got to tell you, I just think that's Marchand doing a spin move. There's nothing that Cuckoo could have done on that play. He didn't move his leg any more than it was, but because of that spinorama and fall down by Marchand, we've seen that twice. He did it to Draisaitl at the start of the game and right there against Cuckoo. Something Edmonton's going to have to watch out for with the slippery Marchand, has drawn 2 in this game.
Bergeron wins the faceoff. One-timer. Pasternak stoned by Mikko Koskinen. Turned over in front. Saucered. And perhaps a little bit too much English on that one for Marchand for Pasternak to handle. And Bouchard is able to fling it down in the zone, actually on net and trapped in the equipment. Ullmark finds it and generously given enough time to move that puck. That very easily could have been a whistle. Bergeron, Taylor Hall, and McAvoy pour in from the left-hand side. Wrapped around the boards. Hall looking Bergeron's way. Nurse and Yamamoto have him tied up. One-timer, and Pasternak belted one high and wide. Kept alive by Hall, but too much on it. And McAvoy under duress in the form of Zach Hyman, who tied the game. So McAvoy just wanted to feel Hyman a little bit on his hip in order to know where to go with the puck. Hall blind, cross-ice pass, works out, finds Bergeron. Nurse pace him against the boards. Around to Hall. Steps in. Loads up. Nowhere to shoot it though. And then Hyman forced a bad pass. That'll chase McAvoy out of the zone. 40 seconds on the Bruin power play, and Boston's offside.
Some good penalty killing here by Edmonton, just being really aggressive when that puck's up for grabs and bobbling. There was a real good chance here. Pasternak takes his pass from McAvoy from distance, and he fights that one off. Koskinen does, and this is a great pass by Taylor Hall. He's got 2 Oilers on him, just kind of rips it across, and that's where Pasternak really leaned into it. No question, they're looking for number 88 in the power play. Good reason. He has that wicked one-timer, and he knows he's had a couple good opportunities there that have just missed wide.
Pretty easy to tell what he was thinking there.
He wears that one.
Greg Smith, Nick Foligno around the boards. Kept in by Grizzly. Keith and Fogle with pressure on Smith. Fogle calmly drops it behind the net for Ceci, and there's a length of the ice clear off a glove on the Boston players, snagged by Grizzly. Ushered on by Jake DeBrusk. And now Charlie Coyle. Stutter steps his way in. Duncan Keith trying to bust up the cycle. Sevier and Fogle. Jams it off the boards, smacked out of midair and out by Sevier, and Edmonton's killed off another one. Cuckoo's out of the box, and Boston is 0 for 3 on the power play tonight. Smith. Coyle tried to give it back to him. That was broken up. Nurse up the left-hand side. Draisaitl, beautiful feed. Bouchard, slap shot, the save made. Ullmark, and he'll squeeze up near the clavicle with a game tied at 2. The Oilers a perfect 3 for 3 on the kill as they look to move to 10-2.
Well, Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid pacing the league, each with 24 points. Each have an assist in this game. And when you look at the fewest games to 600 points for Connor McDavid, quickly climbing that ladder, and with a couple more could jump up above Yari Curry. And then also most goals in franchise history. Leon Draisaitl sitting at 209. One more will take sole position of that 7th position. You know it's only a matter of time as the dynamic duo keeps going to work. And in the last 82 games, if you were to look at it like a regular season, these are the point totals that these two players would have put up. And those kind of are 80s numbers, as you mentioned earlier, Jack. Just incredible.
Connor McDavid bearing down for an offensive zone draw. He's playing his 419th game tonight. Draisaitl, the goal leader in scoring. So if he gets 2 more points, he and Curry both would have 600 points in 419 games. Just the parallels are kind of neat when you, again, look up into the rafters at Rogers Place and see all those great names. So we're finally set here. Now off a penalty kill, Louis, they go right back to McDavid, Draisaitl, Puljujarvi. We see this with Dave Tippett a lot. And with line 4 out for Boston, Nosek is able to pry that puck loose and get it in for Curtis Lazar. Whipped around the boards too hard for Bleed, and now Edmonton can catch Boston here, but offside Puljujärvi on the right wing, and McDavid's frustrated. Gene Principe.
Louis and Jack, we're just sitting in here watching Yessa trying to stretch as far as he can regarding the offside. Connor might have had another point in mind there, and we're going to make our point regarding his fast progression to get to 100, then 200, then 300, 400, 500. If he gets another couple points tonight, he'll have been able to get that last 100 points in 50 games. I can even do the math on that.
Louis, obviously, Gene and Mac T are just horsing around. I mean, did you hear that delay? When I go to Gene, I expect an immediate response. Here's McDavid, tripped up by Nosek. No penalty? Wow.
You're just allowed to put a stick into the skates.
Even McDavid threw his head back. McDavid tries to feed it in front. I mean, look.
What's that, 3 or 4 in the last 2 games?
Draisaitl, McDavid down the middle, taking himself, rip shot! And that went off the post. He had him beat and just drew iron. Figured I'm not going to draw the penalty call, take it myself. Craig Smith in and down the middle. Riley. Hall. Interior pass, slugged wide by Craig Smith. Glanced off the boards, little give and go. McAvoy and a shot deep in his crease, but Koskinen able to weather it and freeze it to keep the game tied at 2.
Well, we're starting to see this on a regular basis, and right here, I mean, for Nosek, he gets the skate in between. It's actually forward too. Yeah. Nosek and forward both, but that's a trip. 100% of the time it's a trip, and then he just puts the Jets on through the neutral zone, walks in and rings this one off the bar on Allmark. But I'm not understanding why they're not seeing that. You get the puck on your stick, guys should be focused on you. But McDavid just, you know what, he complains very shortly, gets right back into action. That's what makes him such a great player. He understands that there's going to be missed calls from time to time. It seems to give him a little bit of energy when one does go missed. And he creates a great chance out of nothing once again. But, come on.
Played by Allmark. I mean, Louis and I are the Edmonton regional announcers, but that doesn't smack of homers. It's just we're giving you factual information and visual proof. Puck lofted out of play over the short glass. I mean, it's a penalty. That's what it is.
He should have drawn probably about 10 to 15 more penalties in that regard throughout the course of this season already. And I'm going to say 3. There was a couple versus Detroit where he was stripped down, didn't get the call. That one for sure was one.
They're talking about that offside right now.
Great, yeah, you know, and I think Puljujärvi was pushed offside on that play, so I mean, didn't really have a whole lot to do. It was Bleed that just kind of shoved him over that line. Good play by him. But when you have number 97 with a puck on your stick, you want to do everything possible to allow him to have that room to go over the line when he chooses.
Nugent Hopkins controls in his own end for Edmonton. Ceci takes the hit. Grzelcyk for the moment kept it in, but Ceci will carry it out at center. And Boston looking to fly the zone, and a poke check by Pastrnak brought in. Pulls up, waits for a trailer, finally dishes off. Working down low is Clifton out to Riley. Back around Clifton. Fights off Ceci, uses the net as a screen. And then Marchand back to Clifton, and his drive repelled by Koskinen. Lofted out to center. Fielded flawlessly by Pastrnak. Beautiful move inside, but could not thread it through to Charlie Coyle. 6 minutes to go, second period. We are tied at 2 and not much space. You're going to have to create your own, as McDavid has his last couple of shifts. Look at Yamamoto burrowing his way in. Keep it alive for Draisaitl, Yamamoto to Nugent Hopkins, and finally the puck exits. Riley sees it flip back in. Koskinen steers it over to Keith. Foligno late getting there, so Nugent Hopkins ample time to bring it to the red and dump it wide of the Boston net. McAvoy taking over. Fires a pass. Ahead for Nosek. Foligno looking to trap it down low. Nosek to Taylor Hall. Angled off the boards. McAvoy's shot drifts wide. Taken. Foligno. Forbert, open wrist shot and missing McAvoy. Clattered off the dashers. Kept in Taylor Hall against Evan Bouchard. Nosek spun around and Bouchard with the outlet for Connor McDavid, and now Puljujarvi with speed over the line. Tried to center, and that's picked off and cleared. Nosek ahead. Lazar has Smith coming, tucks it short side, and that stayed out. Hyman barrels down the left-hand side. Beats one man. Riding Lazar down low. Grizzly comes over, finally to muscle it free for Craig Smith. Sent ahead Lazar with Barry back defensively. He'll take him hard against the boards and grab the puck himself. To Turris. Jam back in one more time with 4 1/4. Ryan to Fogle. Swept around, settled by Barry. Fogle working off a check. He was felled by Grizzly. And Smith with a chance to clear, but he put too much on it. This will be icing.
Well, the battle level's been elevated in this second period. It's tough treading both ends of the ice. Connor McDavid's had his feet moving a couple of times and makes a great defensive play right there. That last-ditch effort to get back and put that stick down the lane and then come in aggressively to support on that whole shift. He's in the right position to get the puck out of the zone. Had another chance at the other end, and you can just feel when he starts getting the feet moving like that, he's just so hard to contain. That's a good defensive play by number 97, come back and taking away a grade A chance in the slot.
And again, while Boston has been a perennial Eastern Conference power, it's the Oilers who've had success against the Bruins in recent years. Mentioned 4 of their last 5 trips here have been victorious, but they're 8-2-1 in their last 11 against the Bruins overall, regardless of where the game has been played. Nurse weaves his way in, checked by Bergeron. Now McAvoy crowded. Kept it alive for Forbert. Hyman was there, but it's golfed out safely by Pasternak. Clubbed in by Marchand. He was belted by Puljujarvi. Nurse shrugs off a check to get it for Evan Bouchard. Settled by Forbert. Marchand down low to Bergeron, then nudged in front and held by Mikko Koskinen as we go inside of 3 minutes to play here in Boston. Connor McDavid, the captain for the Edmonton Oilers, drawing iron as the visitors looking for their first lead.
Night in this one already, Jack, and right there the first goal of the game to tie it 1-1, 44 seconds after the Bruins made it 1-0. But also in the defensive play, this is that great shift here where he stays in the battle. He loses the puck first, bleed, 3 Bruins around him, but just the poise to stay in that battle, make a play through the traffic. Ducks a little hit from Marchand as they've gone at it a couple of times in the corner here, loses a stick after it breaks. But for Dave Tippett, he's put young Evan Bouchard in all situations, has a lot of confidence with the young defenseman to go out there and get the job done. He's been good tonight.
Grzelcyk off the draw, a shot that's tipped up and out of play off the plexi. And I think it's telling also that Dave Tippett goes right back to him in terms of big minutes, following what you'd probably agree was a subpar outing against Detroit. He was not alone.
Nope, not alone, but you're right. One of those games where you're fighting that puck a little bit, you're trying to force things and get caught a couple of times. The one goal in front of the net that Craig McTavish picked out, just being strong on that stick. Tonight, you saw him right there battling one of the best in front of the net in Brad Marchand. And you know what? For Evan Bouchard, he's going through the teams in the National Hockey League the first time throughout. So every single game, it'll be a new opponent for him, a new guy that he's going to have to understand how to battle. But you like the work that he's put in the results so far.
Bouchard did have an assist on the McDavid goal the other night against Detroit. And now a tip-in past Koskinen. And Boston regains the lead 3-2. An innocuous-looking drive from the point, and it rattles home. I believe Carlo took the shot. Did it go cleanly in, Louis?
There was definitely traffic in front. A face-off here that looks like it's up for grabs, and one. Nugent Hopkins has it on his stick, and you can see the shot as Pasternak flares out. Duncan Key stays with him, head up by Carlo, and yeah, I don't know. I think this just gets through. I think that Koskinen, maybe that little flyby by Pasternak and Keith, takes his eyes away from the shot as it's en route. He's in the right position, but somehow it squeaks through the arm and the chest protector and gives Boston the 3-2 lead.
Well, Pasternak jabbed that stick in front of the puck as it arrived on Koskinen, but I'd have to agree with you, Louis. Upon review, it looks like it just goes off of Koskinen and in the net, in which case it would be Brandon Carlo's goal, his first of the year, and he's not an offensive player.
All dreams start at home. Chase yours in a customized plan by Coventry Homes, the preferred builder of the Edmonton Oilers.
Grzelcyk will get his second assist of the game, and I think Carlo, that's going to be his goal when it's all said and done at 17-14. But I would say that I know he didn't touch it, but Pasternak being there, I think bothered Mikko Koskinen, even though it wasn't the traditional net front screen.
Well, there was two. Marchand was in there, and also Pasternak. Both defensemen battling with those two guys respectively. Good things happen when you have a presence in front of the net.
Speaking of, flip toward the net. Sevier unable to get there in time. Ullmark able to freeze it.
And for Edmonton, they can take a page from that. And that's one of the areas, especially in that game versus Detroit, if a team's going to collapse and be in the defensive zone, you'll see this. There's a lot of layers in front of Koskinen. So although he wasn't directly screened, there was certainly action around him that could have distracted him a bit, but that's one of those ones on an angle from the blue line as a 6'6" goaltender, 6'7". You want to just see him make that save, get out there and block that one, but it finds its way home.
Bergeron will get credit, of course, for the second assist with what else but a face-off win, Louis. All he's been doing is doing that at a record clip for 18 years. Cuckoo, a shot blocked. Last year, a career-high 62% in the circle. Is indeed announced as Carlo's goal from Grzelcyk and Bergeron. Backing up is Tyson Barrett. And this will be icing against Edmonton.
You know, it's one of those face-offs, Jack, where Nugent Hopkins had possession. He had that puck for that split second, but that's that winger win you talk about so often. Staying in the battle, trying to fight for that loose puck. And even though it's possession, you still have to make a play. You're off the face-off. You've got essentially 6 bodies, and in a defensive zone situation like that, 8 that are around that puck. Boston makes the play, and it finds its way into the back of the net.
Marchand. McAvoy down low, disrupted by Cuckoo. Now Marchand ducks inside of Ryan McLeod. Boston 3, Edmonton 2. And this time the Bruins have actually held the lead for as much as a minute. Shot from Bergeron, stopped by Koskinen. First lead went away after 44 seconds. The second just 20. Dribbled on net. Ullmark able to drop it off for McAvoy. We come up on a minute to play in the second period. The Oilers already have 2 wins this year when trailing after 2. So Boston's a heck of a front-running team, but Edmonton has summoned the third period magic before this season. Bouchard to Nurse, now a drive, Puljujarvi. That was blocked by Grzelcyk up top. Hyman spun and centered. On to have it picked off and cleared. Too far for Lazar. This will be ice.
I know as a goaltender, you're just going to try and make the save and stand your ground, but you can't tell me that seeing that stick flash in front of the puck, you think it's going to change angles. There's two bodies around you. I mean, there's a lot happening there, especially on the flyby.
McDavid checked against the boards by Lazard. Here's Carlo.
That I guarantee he's going to say that's one of those ones he wants back and should have saved, but that's why you take the shot.
Anton Bleed at center. Nosen. Good work by our sound crew. Sounds of the game. Shot McAvoy. And that was redirected up and out of play with 7 seconds to go. Boston one more offensive zone draw before the break.
Deflected up over top of the glass, and you know, for both teams, a little discussion here between Hyman and Forbert. There's two guys going at it a little bit. It's been a chippy game, a hard-fought game, but not really a whole lot after the whistles. They've just gone right back to the face-offs for the most part, and Darnell Nurse having a little conversation with Forbert now too, saying, hey, you know what? You want to dance? I'll dance with you.
And that one guy safely behind the glass stanchion is trying to egg the two on. Here's Bergeron winning the draw. Shot floated up into the corner and grabbed by Pasternak. Won't get a shot off before the horn. And Boston will settle for a 3-2 lead heading to the dressing room, where again the Edmonton Oilers will try to dig their way out of a hole on the road. Mikko Koskinen beaten on a shot from a point by Brandon Carlo. McDavid rattles one off the pipe, and the Oilers find themselves down a goal. Carolyn and Anthony, Gene and Mac T.
What happened in the pre-game a couple of nights ago, it was a rock, paper, scissors for a stick, and Jake DeBrusk won that. And here it is again, another rock, paper, scissors, and he reads it and says, oh, yeah, it is, Jake. It's for a stick. A nice young man, he follows through with the bet, and there goes the stick into the stands. And now he has been receiving these Oreos as a result, and how polite. He eats some of them, and he's got them in his stall. And it's been quite a developing story for Jake when it comes to the Oreos. And oh, sorry, I was going to open them up, but I guess I better leave them there. Product placement. There are the Oreos. I don't know the rest of the story, but I think I know someone who does. But I guess it's just the way the cookie crumbles as I go back to Jack and Lou.
Hey, it's a good thing those Oreos aren't in front of this crew. And you know what? As I look at us a little bit, Louie, combined with Gene, we are the big hair, don't care crew. Louie, what does Edmonton have to do to pull even here in the third?
Well, you know what? I think just getting back to getting pucks to the net with a presence in front. I know it seems basic, but right now they're playing against a team that's pretty stingy. And it has been a pretty hard-fought battle between two teams, but you have to find ways to manufacture offense, get that puck into the danger zone. Boston's a team that wants to keep you to the outside. Don't allow them to do that. Get to the inside. And for the defense of Edmonton, find those seams.
You and Cindy taught him well, though. Yeah. He wasn't going to part with that stick until he checked the bet to make sure.
I was going to say, you should have gone and got one of your... Don't use the game stick, kid.
How would that have gone over in your day?
Not very good. That would have probably been pulled out of the lineup if the coach would have saw me doing rock, paper, scissors in the glass. But you know
especially what? Losing.
Yeah, I like it, though. I like the interaction with the fans. They come early because of that, and I love seeing that. And Jake's always been one to engage with the fans.
One-timer by Duncan Keith and a save made as we greet you for the third period. Linus Ullmark begins the third with a stop to keep the 3-2 lead for the Bruins intact. Ceci. Nugent Hopkins shot low glove, and that stopped. And Louis, I think they were listening to you already, shooting from anywhere and everywhere.
And that puck was there for grabs, too. That rebound off Ullmark's left pad on that quick little shot through the traffic. So a good start by Edmonton. And what it does is it creates that chain reaction on your bench. You see the shift before you go out there, have a couple good shots on net, create a couple chances, and you want to go out there and try and duplicate and do a little bit better. And for Edmonton, just trying to build on a shift to shift. They're down by a goal. You don't want to overextend yourself, but get pucks to the net. Make it difficult for the goaltender. I like this one-timer right here by Duncan Keith. He gets it through. It creates that chaos and second opportunities on retrievals. And then a nice shot here by Nugent Hopkins just kind of funnels through. And I think Ullmark was trying to glove that one. Then it goes off the pad and then sits there for a second in front of him.
Oilers #1 team in the league offensively, so a 3-2 deficit isn't going to strike fear in their hearts. But Boston, on the other hand, extremely well-versed in closing out these type of games over the last decade plus with this core group. And we've got a whistle.
I think it's a penalty.
Yeah. It's going to be a hold.
And, you know, we talked about this going into the second intermission. You heard Craig McTavish and Gene talking about it as well.
Boston
Penalties
penalty
that
number
weren't
63.
called
2 minutes for holding.
in that second period, especially the one on Connor McDavid. But this one's a hold on Marchand, who's drawn 2 penalties in this game. The one I don't think it was a penalty, but right here, I mean, again, this could have gone either way, but it's that grab right there. I think they allowed the rub and his racing right there as both of them were trying to get in front of one another, but the left arm comes over aggressively for Marchand, and Edmonton gets a power play. They're second of the game.
Penalty 200 feet away from his own net. And the Oilers looking for their first power play goal of the road trip. Here's Barry stepping. Dishing off to McDavid. Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, Hyman rounded out. Shot toward the net. A stop on Hyman by Linus Ullmark and a clear by the Bruins. Boston traditionally a very good penalty killing team. This year 21% better at home than on the road, and McDavid unable to slither his way in. Draisaitl will take the clear and dish off to Tyson Barrie quarterbacking before the drop off for Connor McDavid. Off to Nugent Hopkins, guides back to Barrie. Draisaitl now. Coming off the half wall, McDavid's return pass broken up. Lazar did not clear. Poked away from Bergeron. Kept alive, Barrie to Nugent Hopkins. Barrie, one-timer McDavid and save Ullmark. Rebound loose. Lazar elects to try to pin it and again failed to clear. Now race for the puck. McAvoy won the battle but did not clear past Tyson Barrie. Nugent Hopkins, enough engagement there. Curls it back. Barrie, McDavid, Barrie, one-timer, and that was fought off by Ullmark. Slides into the corner. Nugent Hopkins wraps it around for McDavid. To the corner, Draisaitl. Edmonton looking to tie the game for a third time tonight. McDavid to the front. A stop made by Ullmark and a clear for the Bruins down the right-hand boards.
Wow, what a terrific save at the end of that long sequence. Twice, Jack. It was up for grabs. It looked like Boston was going to be able to clear it, but the second effort and third efforts by Edmonton keep it alive and create 2 or 3 great chances in front.
Edmonton, first 6 shots in the period, 3 on this power play, which has just expired. Bruins get a tough break when their clearing attempts hit the referee. Foegele momentarily hold the zone, but now a clear for the Bruins, and it's Nurse and Bouchard trading the puck. Nurse bottled up by Jake DeBrusk. Spun off that check and forced it down low. Yamamoto against Carlo. Ridden into the corner. Pried loose by Foegele. Bouchard from the point. Shot high glove, missed. Rebound to Kyle Turris. Now Nurse slide step, ran into his own man. And busting it up was Haula, clear by DeBrusk. And Craig Smith. Chasing Bouchard to no avail. Speed up the middle. Feathered in, taken by Connor Clifton. Mike Riley, the outlet. On target for Smith. Cross ice and tipped away from Taylor Hall at the last moment by an alert Duncan Keith. Receives a pass from Bouchard. Slugged up the left-hand side. Ryan comes away with it against Clifton. Gave way for Sevier. Berlini reaching in. Eventually fires a pass laterally for Cody Ceci. Activating down the left-hand side. He'll backhand it in deep. Ryan playing center on this line, but taken away by Taylor Hall and Boston. Advanced by Clifton. Now Foligno completely stymied and a clear by Keith. Puljujarvi had it poked away. Trying to set it level was Foligno. McDavid drilled to the ice, still managed to get into Duncan Keith. Wired down the middle. Forced on by Puljujarvi. Brought the other way by Foligno. Nosek. Chip and chase. In the corner, 4-player pileup. Barrie protecting. That skate lodged between the boards. Puck right in there. And finally taken away and carved out by McDavid. Hyman with speed. Numbers may be breaking Edmonton's way. Hyman a shot. And that went off the leg of Puljujarvi. Kind of a half pass, half shot. Barry looking for a ricochet off of McDavid. Didn't happen, and McAvoy spun and got it ahead for Nosek. And a calm flip inside the Edmonton line.
A nice play by Nosek there, just not to force that play off the wall. Takes his time, makes sure that it gets down the ice, especially up against the top line of Edmonton. That fourth line of Boston has done a pretty nice job to just defend. Keep
here's a turnover. Quick shot and goal. An unbelievable giveaway by Brandon Carlo, and Leon Draisaitl ties it. His 11th. And stunningly, this game is even once again.
You can feel this coming, though. The Edmonton Oilers have come out and completely outshot Boston, have had the pressure in the offensive zone, and just a little bit of a mishap. And that's one of those situations for Carlo. He gets this puck. He wants to make that automatic D-to-D, but he looks up in the last second. He sees Leon Draisaitl there. Too late to pull up and not make that pass. It goes right to the tape. And the one-timer by Draisaitl buries it past Allmark and ties this game.
He just passed Paul Coffey on the all-time Edmonton Oiler list with his 210th goal. And that one a gift from Brandon Carlo. But again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Louis. Feeling pressure where there actually was none.
Pressure.
Here's Bergeron, and offside David Pastrnak, right wing, much to the chagrin of the Boston faithful. Unassisted goal, Leon Draisaitl at 6:22, and we are tied in Beantown. By Napa Auto Parts. Parts that make the difference. That's Napa know-how.
Well, it's a goal by Leon Draisaitl. Again, as you mentioned, Jack, the pressure that was built up at the start of this third period, just continuing to put pucks in, establish the forecheck in time, just coughed up the puck. Brandon Carlo, he wants to make that D-to-D, but Draisaitl was already there in the offensive zone and now is in sole position of 6 with most goals in the Edmonton Oilers franchise history. Climbing that chart pretty rapidly, Leon is, and that's a huge goal for his team to tie this game.
Paul Coffey just shot me a text. Not about that. He knew he was getting passed, and he'll get passed by Connor McDavid before the year is out. McDavid, I believe, is sitting on 203 right now. Cody Ceci trying to force it up to Draisaitl. Oilers 6-0 this year when Leon Draisaitl scores a goal. And the shots in this period, just to illustrate your point, partner, 7 rip for Edmonton.
It's working. Keep it rolling.
Nugent Hopkins bobbled up. Now Pastrnak in on Koskinen. Could not cut his way around Duncan Keith, the wily veteran. Perfectly positioned. Taylor Hall. Connor Clifton now. Clubbed one high and wide off the plexi. And here's Hall. Challenge. Gives it up. Drive Clifton wide short side. Big hit Hall in the corner on Ryan McLeod. And a flip ahead by Sevier. He wasn't yet at center, though, so it's a bit of an unforced error and an icing call against Edmonton.
From center line to goal line, score with
so.
Martin Deerline. Martin Deerline, your local John Deere experts.
Pretty heavy collision between Hall and McLeod right here, and as he gets over to this puck, he never does touch the puck. I mean, is
that not interference?
100% interference. You can't just run over a guy when he hasn't touched the puck yet, but I guess apparently in this game, you can trip, you can interfere. No call again.
Coyle against McLeod. Wins a big face-off in his own end. Again, those are the little plays, and I don't mean to make too much of it, but for Ryan McLeod, that's an important face-off win. His coach will recognize that. Coyle bangs it in for Boston. Slater Cuckoo up the left-hand side. Fogle did not get it out. If you're a fourth-line player and get a face-off in your own zone, you better win it. And he did. Now the Bruins reloaded. Taylor Hall stick handling through Jesse Puljujarvi. Barry there, chesting up, challenging, and forcing a turnover. To Connor McDavid in full flight. Takes a pass from Puljujarvi. Challenging, dishing. One-timer and a glove save on Hyman, made by Linus Ullmark.
Well, a good save by Ullmark. I don't think Hyman gets all the shot that he wants on this one, but a nice little tap pass by Puljujarvi. He just knows that McDavid's building up speed, so all he has to do is put it in place for him. McDavid comes across, and actually that's a pretty good shot by Hyman. He gets a little bit harder shot than I thought in the first take. Tries to go far side. Allmark is there, reads it, and snatches it with the glove. Good save. In a tie game with the pressure being on him, steps up and denies Hyman.
Captain looks locked in. Did you see those eyes? Just blazing.
Well, there's a prime example of how far the defense had backed in once they saw Connor McDavid with speed to the neutral zone to make that play.
Nosek off a leg of Lazar. Sharp angle shot easily fought off by goaltender Mikko Koskinen. And now Bouchard up the middle for Darnell Nurse. Right side, trading the puck with Puljujärvi, who does a nice job of lunging to stop it with his glove, albeit momentarily. McAvoy, one attempt to Lazar. The second is successful, and it's ripped in deep. Bouchard takes over as we come up on 11 minutes to play in regulation. Game tied at 3. 3 times Boston has led. 3 times Edmonton has rallied to equalize matters. Perlini has it chopped down by Ryan out of his reach, and Carlo. That jittery turnover having cost his club the 3rd lead. Now it's an icing call.
Century Casino. All in, all games, all seasons. Century Casino. Great locations in Edmonton, St. Albert, and Century Mile Racetrack. Welcome to the winner's zone.
You know, Jack, to add on that point, the defense of the Boston Bruins combined with 1,535 games combined coming into this game. When you look at the second pairing, Ceci and Keith have 200 more games than all the defense for Boston, so you have to pressure them and try and get those turnovers.
Ceci centers, tipped home by Draisaitl. His second of the period puts Edmonton in front for the first time tonight, 4-3.
All from that icing. It was Brandon Carlo that had that puck looking to make a play, and he chops it down the ice. It goes down for the icing, and a face-off win by Leon Draisaitl. Just a great job by him. And for Cody Ceci, he makes a play here and walks around DeBrusk and makes a beautiful pass across to Leon Draisaitl, who's driving to the net. Puts his paddle down, wins that positioning versus Brandon Carlo. And great job by Ceci, though, to just take that ice, drive wide, and tap in for Draisaitl, 4-3.
Carlo having a tough period, beaten by Draisaitl for the position in front of the net after giving him the game-tying goal, and now another icing call whistled against the suddenly rattled Bruins. It's 4-3 Edmonton. The 2 goals for Draisaitl come in a span of 3:04 and give him 12 on the year.
Yeah, he's not going to miss from there. That big paddle down, he just kind of locks himself, makes sure that Carlo can't reach around him and take that away from him, puts his paddle down on the ice and redirects that one home.
Clifton off the face-off. A clear and carried in by Brad Marchand. But a trio of Edmonton defenders collapse, and now Nugent-Hopkins up to Draisaitl. Change of pace, dropped it off. Yamamoto fell down. So Leon Draisaitl now has taken over the league's goal-scoring lead with 12 on the year. Clifton and Yamamoto engaged. Worked up the boards and held in by Ceci softly behind the net. Clifton. Pressure. Hard forecheck by Nugent-Hopkins, but cleared ahead. Ceci and Keith with the helpers. Bergeron snaps a pass in front. Pastrnak. Tough pass from Marchand into his skates, and the Oilers will take advantage with a clear down the middle.
Maybe one too many passes there. Brad Marchand can shoot the puck. He's got one of those great releases, and you know, obviously you got a 48 goal scorer looking for the one-timer, but down by 1, great opportunity between the hash marks.
I was going to ask you, do things change for the Oilers now, Lou, that they're finally in front?
I don't think you change a thing. I think you keep rolling, you keep putting pucks in behind, and as we talked about, it's a fairly inexperienced back end for Boston. Get on them.
First lead of the road trip. And Boston with control. Carlo up the left-hand side for Taylor Hall. Lead pass Riley down the middle. Wrist shot off the post from Nick Foligno. Same post that McDavid hit in the second period. Wow. This game remains 4-3 for the Oilers. Hard clear up the right-hand side. Scrambling after it, McAvoy with McDavid bearing down on him. Hyman failed to cover off Bleed. Snapped the pass ahead for Lazar. Couldn't control. Nurse off to Bouchard. Bobbled up in front of the Boston bench. Nosek to Bleed. A wrist shot. And that's elevated up and out of play by the active stick of Darnell Nurse as the two come together. Well, that post has been equal opportunity tonight. Rob McDavid and stymies Nick Foligno. Here's 5G, Canada's largest and most reliable 5G network.
Well, we're going to talk about Carmen making your breaks, and you look at that game Tuesday versus Detroit. The little mishap by Stewart ends up in the back of the net. They weren't playing that great tonight. They come out in the third period, put the pressure on. It leads to that turnover for Draisaitl and LeBerry. Then a beautiful move by Ceci. Works the puck down low and finds that big paddle of Draisaitl in front to go ahead by one. You create your karma, you create your breaks, and for Edmonton, they felt a little bit on Tuesday night. And tonight they've come back with a couple real nice plays.
And Carlo entrusted with matching up against Draisaitl. He's been undressed twice in this third period, the 6-year man. Now, Edmonton in front. Grizzly wires one on net, save, Koskinen rebound, and somehow he kicked it out on Pastrnak. I can't believe it, and then it was snapped wide. I believe he soccered that out, flailing away while prostrate. Draisaitl flings off the glass. Here's Yamamoto breaking in, backhander, and that stayed out. Might be Edmonton's night after all.
I'll tell you what, David Pasternak's not going to miss many. He even took a second to make sure that he got a good shot away, and somehow Koskinen is able to get back and make that save.
I think he got it with his skate. I'm telling you, he booted that one wide.
Was it a scorpion?
I don't even know what you'd call that. A frightened scorpion, maybe. That wasn't your classic scorpion, trust me.
That was
a scorpion with a predator bearing it down on him, I guarantee you.
Get eaten.
Yes. Driving down the left-hand side, Foligno. What a stop. Hyman on the counterattack. Chips it down low. Riley down the middle, no one home. They're going to wave off icing. Quite sure why. Keith will send it up the left-hand side. I guess the ruling there was there should have been a defenseman there, I guess. I don't know why. Here's tipped away. Halla, trailer, quick dish. Foligno, a backhander, sharp angle, and another save for Koskinen. Keith's headgear is on the ice, blowing in the breeze, and now down the right-hand side comes Colton Sevier. Gives it up. Tipped on by McLeod. Stopped by Omar. Forward. Right-hand side and hoisted back through center. Bouchard to Nurse. 6 minutes to play in Boston. Oilers looking for a 5th win in their last 6 visits to TD Garden. Grizzly. Nosek fluttered one wide. Clifton backtracking. Off to Nosek. Did he get it? We're going to say he did. Keith's helmet still behind the Edmonton net. Nosek a shot. Tipped high in the air, and Koskinen able to spear it as Nurse redirects Bleed into the crossbar.
Bleed and Nurse have gone at it a couple of times. 2 heavy hits in the corner and come back to the front of the net. But here's that great save by Koskinen. Somehow he gets across and denies Pastrnak in tight. Well, Mikko Koskinen keeping a 1-goal game, Jack, with an outstanding save. And this is just staying with it. The shot by Grzelcyk goes right into that pile, bounces right out to Pastrnak. He hesitates for a second, and it goes off the toe of the right pad of Mikko Koskinen, who just extends that 6'7" frame out. Look at that reaction by Pastrnak on the bench. That's all you can do on that one, is just shake your head and say, I don't know. It's been that kind of a start to the season for Pastrnak. Only 3 goals in 10 games. But you know it's only a matter of time before the sniper gets hot, and that one there, he had that one taken away in tight.
Well, he's got one tonight, Louis, and he probably could have 3 or 4. I mean, he's had some real good looks. Koskinen, a combination of terrific saves, and there have been a couple that Pastrnak has just missed. Like you were saying, not quite in the wheelhouse just yet for him.
And that's how you know he's playing well, when he's all over getting those chances.
Off the draw, Bergeron worked it around the boards, cutting inside Marchand, and then swing and a miss. Just what we were talking about, just not quite there in terms of the timing. Marchand unable to keep the play alive. Nugent-Hopkins had it smacked out of midair by Pastrnak. He's right back into the offensive zone. Grizzly, wood-timer from the point, and a save for Koskinen against the loaded-up McAvoy. Pastrnak shot, this time tipped right to Yamamoto, and he'll carry it out safely with 5 minutes to play. Draisaitl looking for the hattie in the third period to be a natural hat trick if he got it. Short side stopped, held in for the moment by Barrie, and now Nurse. His shot was blocked, and Taylor Hall reloads for Boston. Bruins are a perfect 5-0 at home this year. Hall a shot, blocked by Nurse. Foligno around the boards for Hall. Here's a drive from the point, tipped and wide of Koskinen. 3 times tonight the Bruins led. Had a 1-goal lead entering the third period, but Edmonton got the first 7 shots of the period, 2 of them Draisaitl goals. Clifton. Now, it's Hall, he tried to center. Tip to Charlie Coyle, wrist shot gloved. Koskinen, not sure that would have counted. The net had been dislodged. And Nurse grabs Nick Foligno.
Yeah, Foligno standing right over top of Koskinen there. A little bit of gamesmanship, just trying to get into the mind of Mikko Koskinen a bit. Foligno missed some time with an injury back in the lineup tonight. Had a real good chance that Koskinen denied him on. And then just kind of stands over top of him in the blue paint. And Darnell Nurse didn't like that too much. Here's the nice one-timer by Clifton, redirected in front by Charlie Coyle, who's all over Koskinen there. And then another chance here. Coyle comes out of the corner. Good glove hand save. And then Foligno just comes in and says, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to stick around here. Darnell Nurse comes in and says, I don't think so.
Koskinen, really one of the unsung heroes, kind of sliding that net off. He knew it was loose, and I think that's why he ushered it off, trying to get the officials' attention. Like I said, I don't think that goal would have counted had it somehow slipped by him. He's trying to go 8-1 this year, and again, he's won 7 straight on the road entering tonight. Here's McAvoy. Punched in. Long way to go, though. You're talking about the Boston Bruins, perennial contenders in the East. DeBrusque digs it out of a pile. Second opportunity, Craig Smith. McAvoy redirected just wide by Jake DeBrusque. Finishes his hit. Hard rim around the boards. No icing. McAvoy puts the brakes on. Shots have been split evenly, but right now Koskinen one save better. Pastrnak shot from the corner, another save. Marchand misses. Clifton snapped it cross ice, and the active stick of Bouchard broke that up. Riley unable to thread one through, and the Oilers almost had a 2-on-0 materialize. Cleared by Ullmark, and McDavid conservatively back to his D-man Darnell Nurse, who turns and lobs it back towards center. Hyman will give it right back to him and allow Nurse to quarterback and melt some clock. Marchand slightly hobbled as he comes off. We're down to 2.5 to go. The Bruins need to pick it up and move with some alacrity right now.
You know, Darnell Nurse was totally fine just standing there with that puck and killing the clock.
There's a turnover in front of backhander save, rebound, and Sevier denied. Ceci, a shot, scores! Cody Ceci, his first as an Oiler, and Edmonton leads by a deuce.
Been a multiple-point game for Cody Ceci, who had the assist on the first Draisaitl goal as well. Marchand still banged up on the bench on that interaction, and it's a little bit of a misplay here. in the corner. Once this puck comes to Clifton, he doesn't realize that he's getting forechecked again that aggressively, and the puck just turns over. Look at this. It's just a nice job. It's McLeod who's right there on the doorstep. And then eventually Cody Ceci takes this puck out of the pile and just rifles it up over top of an Allmark who's already down. And here's the collision between Marchand and McDavid. And he got the worst of that one and was a little shaken up going to the bench.
Cody Ceci with his first as an Oiler at 17:41. And now the Bruins waste no time. They'll pull Allmark, but they're down 2 now, 5-3. Net empty, and Fogle breaks up an intended pass. Ceci was run into, collision with Marchand, and he's down. And head athletic trainer T.D. Forrest taking a look. I think he got hit by the puck. It wasn't so much the contact with Marchand. He just got blasted with a puck.
And here it is here as you'll see Marchand goes to play this puck, and it comes right up, and he knew right away. Marchand actually put his hand up and called the trainer on the ice immediately as that one came up and clipped him. And right after scoring a goal for Cody Ceci, who's had a solid effort tonight. Some concern with him still being down for that length of period of time. But anytime a puck comes up, obviously cut him the ear
hole. Yeah. Boy, give TD Force credit. Did you see him parachute in? Let's go to our Gene Principe.
Hey, Louie and Jack, just a reminder, play the largest game day 50-50. Tonight's 50-50 is in honor of the late, great Oilers enforcer Dave Semenko. Net proceeds will support their 4th annual Dave's Drive campaign. It encourages fans to donate funds and gently use sports equipment to Sports Central. And we appreciate all of this. The pot currently at $736,000. Buy now at EdmontonOilers.com.
So situation is this, 5-3 Oilers. Yes, there's still 2 minutes left, but it's now a 2-goal lead. Drilled in by Pastrnak. Second time in a week, Louis. Edmonton's gotten 3 in the 3rd. Taylor Hall. Sevier and McLeod will get the helpers. That's Sevier's first point as an Oiler and McLeod's second of his career.
It was a forechecker by McLeod that turned that puck over to begin the whole sequence in motion.
He's had a strong game.
Get to that spot.
He's had a good game tonight. Again, that 4th line, as you pointed out, not a ton of minutes. You've got to be productive when you have the chance. A couple of key face-off wins, and now McDavid with that net empty will shovel it toward Draisaitl, looking to get him the hat trick. Coyle anticipated, broke it up. We're down to 1:15 to play. Bruins need to get moving. They're down 2. McAvoy, quick dish off. Marchand snapped it over to Bergeron. Tough pass into his skates. Draisaitl to Hyman. Ahead for McDavid. Trying to get around Marchand. Can't do it. Marchand, that low center of gravity, up to Coyle. Less than a minute to go in the period, though. McAvoy. Up the middle, broken up. Now finds Pastrnak. Left wing shot caught and held by Mikko Koskinen with no rebound. He's got 26 saves and is closing in on his 8th win of the year.
Well, 2 guys that are going to most likely be teammates in a couple of months, a few months that is. And you can see McDavid maybe wanting to reach in there and grab Marchand. They stay together. There he had his stick. Marchand comes back and grabs his stick inside the zone. But a good battle between 2 guys, 2 of the best offensive players in the game.
Well, you were making a point, you and I were chatting earlier about Marchand's low center of gravity and how deceptively strong he is, especially when he gets in tight quarters.
Over 190 pounds for his height, and when he gets down into that position, almost impossible to win that puck battle against him. He's one of the best, if not the best, handling a puck in tight.
Here's Ryan angling toward the empty net. Edmonton would dearly love this man, Nugent Hopkins, to get a goal, but instead it's Puljujarvi's shot that deflects into the far corner. 25 seconds to go. Oilers are going to win this hockey game. It's just by how much. Riley down the middle, bounced in. Came off the corner boards. Koskinen didn't get there. Foligno picks it up, turns, waits, centered, batted it around, taken by Keith, and then wristed down the middle, and ultimately toward the net, a 2-bouncer that sails wide. They're going to wave off icing. It matters not. This one is history. Edmonton is 10-2 on the year.
Well, Mikko Koskinen with a terrific save, especially in the third period, that could have tied the game. He keeps it a one-goal game, allows his team to get that second one, the insurance goal. And, you know, in a game in which I thought Edmonton came out and matched that after getting scored against both in the first and second period, they matched it, came back and tied it, and then they really went to work in the third period, Jack. That's when they really started to play their game, and they took this one over. And at one point, I think they were out shooting Boston 7-0 in the third period. That was the difference. They just started to get their mojo going, and the big guns came to play again. Draisaitl with a couple of beautiful goals.
And Mikko Koskinen settled down after that goal for Carlo, held the Bruins off the sheet the rest of the way. Now it's time for the Molson Canadian.